For our next story, we move back to Europe, where Poland's new president, Karol Nawrocki, has once again raised demands for reparations from Germany for the devastation caused during World War II. During his visit to Berlin today, Nawrocki emphasized this issue and has called for compensation, estimated at 1.3 trillion euros. This demand risks straining relations between Warsaw and Berlin at a time when European unity is vital amid ongoing security threats from Russia. German officials reaffirmed that the matter is legally settled, referencing a 1953 agreement under which Poland waived further claims. Okay, we move on to some more news from Europe, where in a press conference with Alexander Stubb, Latvia's President Edgars Rinkēvičs has called for the development of more effective anti-drone defence systems within NATO. He called that deploying costly air defence missiles against relatively inexpensive drones is not a sustainable strategy. Let's listen in to what he said.
The decision by NATO to put Eastern Sentry, the decision of NATO to increase air defence capabilities of the eastern flank is appropriate and right response. However, what we need to learn from this situation is that, and at this point, anti-drone defence systems in NATO countries still need to be developed. Normally, you don't use very expensive air defence missiles to shoot down rather cheap drones.
Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine is our war. Russia's escalation of its war in Ukraine to include incursions of European airspace is simply unacceptable and calls for a clear response. That's why I welcome the actions undertaken by NATO in the form of Eastern Sentry. And of course, if you look at what happened in the margins of Finnish territorial waters at the end of December last year, NATO was able to create an immediate response in the form of the Baltic Sentry. And NATO has now done the same thing with Eastern Sentry in making sure that similar incursions don't happen on the eastern flank by setting up strong air defences.
Okay, we are once again joined by Alison Mutler. Alison, we've just heard a couple of updates from European politics. Alison, first of all, let's start with Poland. President Nawrocki, the new Polish president's visit to Germany, he has reignited the call for 1.3 trillion euros reparations from Germany after their actions in World War II. Why do you think this issue continues to resurface, especially with Nawrocki bringing this to light? And do you expect this to develop further?
Well, Nawrocki, I don't think actually expects to get that money back, but he does want to raise the issue to make it a public issue, which does expose divisions in Europe, which is exactly what Russia wants during this hybrid war. Obviously, Nawrocki is playing, he's a new president, he's got to show he was in agreement with Donald Tusk over the incursion of the Russian missiles into, the Russian drones, I shouldn't say, but the Russian drones into Poland's airspace. So he has to show that he is different, that he is a true Polish nationalist. And so he's raising an old issue that Poland itself, it's true, under communist times, agreed to. So I think he's actually playing, first of all, I don't think he expects to get any of the money back. Romania itself has reparations it wants back from Russia, but that's another for gold that was sent to Russia during the First World War. That's another story. I don't think he expects to get back the reparations, but he needs to make a stand for the people who voted for him. He's a new president. Last week they had this incursion by Russian missiles, which was I think a terrible shock to the Poles, and it has raised awareness across NATO, as you mentioned, about Eastern Sentry to bolster defence along NATO's eastern flank. So I think he's doing this to create a new subject and also to show a distancing from Donald Tusk, who's a pro-European. Whether he is serving ulterior motives, I couldn't say, but it is definitely to bring something new to his audience, to his voters.
Alison Mutler, unfortunately we have run out of time, but pleasure to have you on the programme, and thank you very much for taking out the time to talk to us.